Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Martin, and tonight we are revisiting the top 120 episodes, number 7, to see what other episodes we just can't live without. And so we're gonna share some more of our favorites because, come on, almost every episode is somebody's favorite. And but before we do, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Lynn.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lynn Zubernis. I'm a clinical psychologist and a professor at Westchester University, and my research area is the psychology of being a fan, and my favorite show is Supernatural, so I've written lots of books about Supernatural, the most recent 2 written with the actors of Supernatural, and that's Family Don't End with Blood and There'll Be Peace When You Are Done, which is hanging out over my shoulder. And my newest book is about the boys, which has a chapter from Jensen Ackles called Soups Ain't Always Heroes.
Very nice, and shout out to them for their recent award. I keep muting because I have a noisy dog, so I will try to make this work. Elektra.
I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor, and I've been watching Supernatural since that first episode aired until that very last episode aired, for at least the first time. And, you know, we all cried for a little bit before we started watching them again and again and again and again. Sorry.
That's the beauty of a time loop. Melissa?
I'm Melissa, and I've been a fan since the pilot, and it's the show that I just won't let go of.
So say we all. Carole?
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes. I've been a fan of Supernatural since season 3. I started writing fanfic in 2012, and I'm one of the co-hosts for the Spotify podcast, So Get This, The Lore of Supernatural Fanfic, and as Ellis Colton, I am an romance writer.
All right. And I'm Gail Z. Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance, but all my worlds are ones which Sam and Dean could walk in and go home. The show through season 11, binge watched 11 seasons in 4 months so that I could pick up with the start of season 12. And ever since then, I have been working on earning and keeping my obsessed fan badge. And I think I'm in the running. So let's go around and give 1 episode per cycle. We'll keep going around till we run out of time. Remember, we don't have to give the whole recap to the story. Just talk about what it is that you like about it, what makes this episode make your top list. And even though we have several different episode recap series going on season by season, etc., it's okay if we mentioned an episode in one of those because this is a different series of panels. So Lynn, take us away, get us started.
Well, the first one I picked goes back pretty far to season 2. No, season 1, sorry. Because I figured we should look at the ones that were important to start from the beginning. And we haven't talked yet about Dead in the Water, which I think is really one of the best episodes of the entire series. It was the first one directed by Kim Manners, and it was written by Sarah Gamble and Ray L. Tucker. So it's not surprising that it's a really, really good episode. I tend to really like when the episodes are kind of like old school Supernatural, when they're really, really scary, but they're really, really beautiful at the same time, and they have a lot of heart. And this one is that. Because it's directed by Kim Manners, there's some amazing shots, but they're also terrifying. It's like a little horror movie. It starts out with that unforgettable image of the girl swimming in the deserted lake, and it's filmed from underneath. So you know there is something underneath her that's going to get her, and you're just waiting for it to pull her down. And then there's the brother of that girl who the old sort of kitchen sink starts to fill up with lake water. And of course, in the best horror movie fashion, he puts his hand down in it to remove whatever is plugging it up and gets pulled into it and drowns. And then the little boy is pulled into the lake. I mean, it's got a lot of horror. It's got a lot of scare to it. But I think what I really like the most about it is that we were already starting to try to understand the relationship between Sam and Dean. We didn't really know them yet, and Dean was sort of being painted as this kind of flirt who doesn't have a lot of substance to him, just, a lot of bravado, almost a stereotype. And in Dead in the Water, we and Sam start to really see another side of him and a lot of depth to him, especially in his conversations with the little boy Lucas about his trauma of seeing a tragedy happen. And Dean talks about his own trauma of seeing his mother killed and what that did to him and how he also couldn't speak for a while. And we see Sam sort of realize, oh, this Dean isn't just what I'm seeing, the bravado on the outside. There's a lot more depth to him. So I think it started the 15-year watching the evolution of Sam and Dean's relationship too. And I really love it for that too.
And it's funny, there is that moment when you grow up, when you see some of your family members not as their role in the family, but as people. And that's really illuminating, whether it's a parent or whether it's a sibling. And I think that's Sam's grow up moment of, oh, Dean's not just my big brother.
Yes, and done so brilliantly we see Dean talking to Lucas and Sam is just in the background listening, and then suddenly the camera, Kim Manners, focuses in on Sam's face, and Sam just sort of going, who is this who I'm watching? Just doesn't even say a word, but we get it because it's so well done.
Yeah. Elektra.
I'm going to jump to season 9 to an episode, Heaven Can Wait, which we'll start with. It's got the same name as one of my favorite Meatloaf songs, a beautiful ballad. And it's an episode that has a bunch of different plot lines because by season 9, we've gotten really, really complex. So we've got Kevin off in a corner translating the angel tablet, which he hasn't quite gotten to English, but he's managed to translate it into Elamite. And you've got Castiel, who's trying to figure out human behavior. So he's working in a stop and rob, and he's calling himself Steve. And he is being cast very good at it. But there's an angel of mercy running around who's trying to help people by killing them if they're depressed. And the boys are trying to figure that out while also trying to help Kevin with the tablet and stopping by and trying to help Castiel as they do. And, it's a really, really fun episode. And we get to find out about Angels of Mercy and their little fun tick of, oh, right, you're depressed. Well, we can solve that. And you turn into pink mist. And they're trying to, by, season 9, they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on and get the angels taken care of and see if they can get them back up to heaven. And Cass is not able to help them out because he's human. And they haven't got as much help as they were used to leaning on, and it's just them. And we get to see just the two of them together. And it's really a lot of fun. And we've got a lot of interplay between Crowley and Abaddon, who's running hell now. And Crowley is really ticked off about it. So we get to see lots of good Crowley being annoyed. And, the more Crowley, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So I really enjoyed it. And there was also a little bit more about if we collect souls before their time, it really annoys Crowley because, he started out as the king of the crossroads. And if you make a deal, you keep the deal. Because that's the way this works. Otherwise, no one's ever going to make a deal with us again.
It's all about consumer confidence.
What Gail said.
Melissa?
I'm going to use my notes because it's been that kind of a day. Yellow fever. There are so many good things in this episode. We get to see Jensen's comedic chops. That's fun. But I love the way Jensen's fright builds. It's this layered. He goes from different levels of that fear, and that was fascinating to watch. This episode also gives us one of the best outtakes ever from Supernatural. Jensen singing "Eye of the Tiger" and lip syncing to "Eye of the Tiger" while he's climbing out of the Impala, which is just iconic. It also gives us the scream when the cat pops out. It's just one of those, and we get Sam working with Bobby to solve the monster problem rather than Sam and Dean like going to Bobby for help. We get to see Bobby actually there in the actions, helping the boys, helping Sam, and working only with Sam because Dean's too afraid to do anything because he's got the ghost fever thing. I just love this episode. There was just so much fun to it. I can't do Lynn's deep analysis. I'm all about the fun.
Okay. Carol.
Oh, I'm going to go back to the past as well. And I had to check this like 15 times because I couldn't believe that in 6 previous episodes of 100 Most Watched, we hadn't talked about this. Heart. Like, I was like, how did we not talk about Heart yet? So we're going to talk about Heart. I absolutely love this episode. Great one-shot character. Would have loved to see her do more, but unfortunately she had to be killed at the end because she's a werewolf. And they try to figure out a way, and she's like, no, I'm going to hurt somebody, so you have to do it. And she asks Sam to do it. Well, unfortunately, during the course of the episode, she and Sam have bonded. He has gotten enmeshed in her soap opera. And once they thought she was not a werewolf, had a night of hot sex. And that was a particularly delicious scene, loved by fans worldwide, because we get to see Sam in his shirtless, muscly, primal glory. And sweet, gentle Sam, who just looks, he's wearing his baggy t-shirts and jackets. And it turns out to be absolutely gorgeous. And forget the kind, sweet demeanor. He's an animal. He's the animal. So they have this really incendiary night, and we're all happy because she's not a werewolf and Sam isn't, killing anybody. And then she is a werewolf, and we have the utter heartbreak, complete heartbreak, because we've grown to love her as quickly as Sam did. She's kind, she's intelligent, she's beautiful, and recognizes, however, how she is dangerous, and she will not suffer that. She will not allow that to happen, and begs Sam to shoot her. And Dean, in a really beautiful big brother moment here, offers to take that burden off Sam. He's like, don't do this. I'll take care of it, because he will always take care of his little brother, and he will spare him this incredible pain. And Sam is like, no, I have to do it. I said I would do it, and she asked me to do it, and I'm going to do it. And with the tears just coursing down his face, he goes in, and we don't see him do it. Instead, what we see is this incredible reaction shot from Dean as he's standing there, and his whole body jolts when he hears that gunshot. And just the play of emotions throughout this is gorgeous. They play everything to the hilt without going over. You never think, oh, this is too much. The way she and Madison and Sam bond, humory, she dumps out her lacy little nothings in front of him, and he's all like flustered and stuff. So they have these great little light moments, and they talk about things, and it just has a really, really, really tragic ending. So a lot of emotional impact. Get those tissues ready every time you see it. don't care how many times, it's going to make you choke up a little bit. And it's really, and this is this is the big midpoint of season 2. Man, they nail it. They just nail it. And you walk away grieving with Sam, grieving with Dean, and just feeling like you've had this little insight into their personal lives as opposed to just their monster hunting lives.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pick maybe an unpopular opinion, and I'm going to say bugs, because I really don't think that episode deserves all the hate that it has gotten. This is one where they go into a brand new housing development, and okay, it was probably built on like Native American burial ground. But
Like you do.
like you do. Well, which is most of North America, let's be honest. And which might explain things, but they're having really bad luck. And part of it is they're getting overrun with all different kinds of insects. Now, this is just, to me, this is just a fun monster of the week, where the monsters are bugs overrunning everything. I've interviewed Carrie Genzel, who was the woman in the shower with the spiders, and heard her rather horrifying story of dealing with the real spiders and the spider wrangler who's telling her, don't hurt the spiders. And how many times she had to redo the scene and just not react, not freak out and start smacking the spiders when they are crawling all over her. And that alone endeared the scene to me, because she does a great job. But as Lynn pointed out in Dead in the Water, there's a unexpected revelation, because Dean says something to Sam about carrying him. Yeah, when I carried you out of the fire. And Sam said, I didn't know that. And Dean never realized that Sam didn't realize that Dean carried him out of the fire when their mom died. And you can just see the wheels turn in Sam's head. Yes, John's A+ parenting. But we just see the wheels turning in Sam's head, that again, he's starting to see another layer to his big brother than what he always had thought before. And we also get, there's the tension between the teenage boy and his father, and it's pretty normal, even if the bugs aren't. And next time you watch this, just pity that Jensen and Jared actually had to do the scene with the bees, with real bees. And then they weren't able, they still had to CGI the bees in because you couldn't see the real bees. And whoever the director was it Kim? Came in and sat with them in the bee unit, because he said that if they had to be in with the bees, he was going to be in with them too. So all this stuff behind the scenes, but then there's this moment at the end where Sam's talking to the son and saying, well, cut your dad a break. He's just trying to do what's best for you. And, it's really not that bad. And Dean's, thinking, well, guess you really are envious of his life. He's Joe Normal. Here he is in this, housing development. And Sam's like, no, not really. I just told him he needed to get along. And Dean's like, are you Sammy? But we're seeing that character evolution. So I think there's some really great character growth moments in what everybody dismisses as a schlocky monster of the week episode, that for all those reasons, I really don't mind it at all. And in fact, it kind of makes my favorites list. Back to you, Lynn.
Yeah, no, I so agree. And that's the case in almost all of the episodes of the first 3, even 4 seasons. When you look at it now in retrospect, the slow, gradual evolution of both the brothers and the way they look at the world, and the brothers' relationship with each other and their understanding of what they do and the family business. It's amazing how coherent it is, and how slowly and so organically it kind of flows. It's truly masterful. Carol, I'll do a different one, but I had Heart on my list too, and I also had to go back 3 times and be like, I know it's probably in here. I must
You
have
know,
missed it.
I'm like, it's a big list, so I'm going to go one by one and really
Yeah.
make sure I'm going. And I have a couple others on my list that was the same thing. I was like, really? We didn't, I
Yeah.
mean, because at the very least with Heart, you have just the raw appeal of, you know, watching Sam in action. And you know, who doesn't love that? But aside from it, all the depth and, you know, complexity and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, no, I know. And I also like there was evolution in that one too. More sort of, it was the beginning of Dean sort of moving slowly away from his kind of black and white thinking around if it's a monster, we kill it. This was one of the very first ones where we saw him sort of question that in initially through having empathy for Sam and Sam being able to and much more wanting to, partly because of his own fear that he is monstrous in some way. He really wants to believe that people don't have to be monsters and monsters don't have to be monstrous. And Dean, through empathizing with Sam, you can see him start to evolve. Even when the other guy, Glenn, who was the werewolf, when Dean kills him in the end, as he's shot, he turns back to the human before he dies, and he wakes up like terrified and in pain and going, help me, help me, help me. And you can see that that really gets to Dean. He feels empathy and he tries to reassure him before Glenn dies. So I just thought that was, there were little moments, but it's very well done.
Well, and there's a lot of layering going on in what everybody thought was going to be a Monster of the Week show.
Mhm.
So there's way more depth and character development than we got in a lot of shows, particularly of this era, where the people stayed largely the same episode to episode. So there was definitely something big going on here under the surface.
Yeah.
So give us your episode, Lynn.
I was going to pick Bloody Mary because I don't think we can talk about Supernatural without, that is, to my mind, that is the scariest episode of the entire 15 seasons of Supernatural. I mean, it is a horror movie episode and it is just tremendously well done. Um, I, I really, I remember watching it vividly the very first time I saw it. I was watching it with my daughter, and for some stupid reason, we decided we would watch it. We were home alone. It was just the two of us in a dark room, I guess, so we could see the TV better. So we're sitting alone in the dark on the couch and getting increasingly more freaked out because, I think many of us, there's a basis in reality. Many of us played the Bloody Mary game at sleepovers when we were kids. And so there's, and I never wanted to do it even then. So there's that little kind of reality parallel with it. But as it got more and more and more scary, and as they got to the warehouse scene at the end, and it's all dark and it's only lit by Sam and Dean's flashlights, and there's all these, mirrors and old antiques, and just unbelievably creepy. And then Sam says it in the mirror and then goes through all of that, and he almost gets taken out and his eyes are bleeding, and Dean comes in at the last minute and blasts the mirror and shatters it, and you think it's okay, but of course it's a horror movie, so it's not okay when you think it's okay. And as soon as they go to turn around, this makes me scared even to talk about it. Here comes Bloody Mary crawling out of that damn mirror just like The Ring. And it was so well done. My daughter and I just screamed at the top of our lungs and grabbed each other. And we're just sitting there on the couch going, I mean, we were like a cartoon. It was ridiculous. I don't think I've ever done that to that extent with any other episode of Supernatural. It was just so well done. Of course, there's also, just like we've been saying, there's a lot happening that is not just the little 42-minute horror movie too. We're finding out that Sam feels really guilty about Jessica's death and that he should have been honest with her about what he did for a living and about the dreams that he was having, and that Dean feels really guilty about going back to get Sam and pulling him back into the life, and that he can't make Sam feel better from Jessica's death. So there's emotional underpinnings to this one too, but basically it's just a really great little 42-minute horror movie.
Awesome. Elektra.
I'm gonna go, well, first, we need to do one on the titles, Gail. I keep
Okay.
looking at the titles for these and how cool it is, where they all come from.
Mm-hmm.
We did one on the cards. So that's another one we need to do.
I will add it to the list.
All right. I'm going to take us to nearer to the end of things. And I can't believe we haven't done this one. It's the first one in season 14, Stranger in a Strange Land. And this is where Jensen is playing Dean as Archangel Michael in the cap. And he's bouncing around asking people, what do you want? And not believing them, of course, because he doesn't get altruism. Because this version of Michael is just not a nice guy, because he's Michael from all the alternate version, the
AU.
AU, that's really the apocalypse world, which is not particularly fun. And it's another one of those that has all these complicated threads going on. We've got a group of hunters also from Apocalypse World that are getting geared up and learning, some of them, how to hunt and what to do, and learning how to deal with our version of the world, including a different version of Bobby. And Sam is acting more leadery, and it's really kind of fun seeing him in that world or that role. And Cass is trying to figure out a little bit about what's going on. And Sam has decided that there will be no new king in hell. That, you know, Crowley's gone and that's it. No more king in hell. And he's allowed to do that. Apparently, everybody is looking for Dean / Michael. And there's lots of stuff going on and lots of threads, and everybody is playing different roles really, really well. It's a good first episode of the season where you get to see what's going on and what kind of season it's going to be. And season 14 is a season of searching and finding things out, and it really is complicated.
And you have a lot of people who are not in their usual places or their usual roles, which plays to the title.
Well,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that are suffering here. You know, they don't know if they're going to get Dean back. Lucifer is in AEW. They don't know if they're going to get him back from Apocalypse World. Crowley's gone. You know, everybody is not sure how they feel about things. And there's a lot of frustration. So it's full of frustration, but there's still hope that they'll get Dean back. And it's really fun seeing Jensen run around in that outfit.
Yes.
He
Yes.
looks cool. So
He
there
does.
is that.
Melissa? And you know?
I gotta circle back to Heart for a minute because I have the sense of humor of a 12-year-old. So we have Jessica died. Carole knows where I'm going. We have Jessica died. And this is the episode that sort of sets up Sam's dick of death. I'm just saying. Sorry,
Peak of
Carole.
death.
Yep. when the
Legend
levee
begins.
Yes, seriously, because it takes two, right? It's not the first one. You have to have two. So anyway, sorry, I just could not resist it. When the levee breaks, because Jared's performance was just brilliant. Like they're detoxing him from the demon blood, and it is one of those episodes. I don't watch this one very often because it shreds my heart. because between Jared's performance as Sam trying to detox, and then Jensen's performance with, Sam is suffering. Sam is in agony, and Dean can't help him. And you've got Bobby wants to help. But Bobby's trying to be a little bit more pragmatic, that maybe they're not going to be able to detox him. It's just one of those episodes that I need to have the box of tissues and the completely dark room, and it has to be really silent, and I'm just going to cry my heart out, because their performances are such a gift to us. And then, of course, he goes off to fake Ruby, but that's a whole other story.
Okay. Carol.
Gosh, I'm trying to decide to stay in this emo lane or divert to a little humor. Let's do a humor diversion. Hollywood Babylon, season 2.
Carol,
And in
Carol,
fact-
we have all the same ones on our I've literally picked the same. We had so many to choose from. How did we choose all the same ones? That's bizarre. That's what I was going to talk about.
No, that's just how our brains work. And in fact, this is the one directly after Heart. So we've been through all this drama and trauma of Heart. And then the next episode, the boys find themselves in Hollywood, and they're investigating these rumors of death on sets and stuff. But the best parts are, we see this movie, a horror movie being made, and it just nails this whole like kind of satirization of the making of a horror movie. Every time they're doing this one scene over and over, you can see where the changes are made because something has happened in real life in the episode and they're adding it. So it's like, oh, look, ghosts don't like salt. So the next time they do that scene, they're putting salt out. And the next time it's like, oh, we found out this now. So they're doing that. And it's hilarious. Look, you can see ghosts through the lens. Now they're looking at the ghosts through the camera lens in the movie. And it's just hilarious watching the iterations of that, and they're putting this stuff in. So a lot of lighthearted fun in there. Sorry, a couple of people get killed, but hey, that's supernatural. They don't really dwell on the murders so much. A lot of it is just this atmospheric stuff with the movie. And Dean throws himself into the role of playing a PA. Like, does he have this little subby side or something? Because he loves being ordered around, and he has to go fetch this, and he's got to go do that, and he's got to talk the lingo on his cool little headset. And have you tried the food on the craft table? Because they have these little mini steak sandwiches that are to die for. So, there's all this humor. Sam's like, can we do the case? And they solve the murders and everything, and the bad guy gets his. But watching Dean go through this whole PA process, and then in the end, successfully bagging the star actress, because hey man, he watched her in Hellraiser 3 and she was awesome. It's just great because it's a really nice palate cleanser. After Heart, we can kind of catch our breaths. Not everything is so dark all the time. We can have some humor, and it's really a really deft touch to that humor that was such a hallmark for me of Supernatural, that they could play the drama, they could play the dark, they could play the scary, but man, they got that humor in there. And sometimes it's like a line or two, but this episode, it's like the whole episode, and it's just really fun.
Hey, Carol, plot bunny, do we have any fanfic with
PA Dean?
Dean? Yes, or PA Jensen? I'm just saying. Plot bunny, I'll send it to you.
Well, I'm going to go with Plucky Pennywhistle's Magical Menagerie. Probably influenced by the fact that with 3 kids in the 90s, I spent so much time at Chuck E. Cheese's. Their pizza actually wasn't too bad. But I'll never look at the ball pit the same way again. The ball washer? The ball washer.
That is my favorite frickin' scene. It's just hilarious.
You know, and I love Dean playing skee ball, and, you know, Dean not realizing that dropping Sam off there and then leaving was maybe not good parenting or good being a sibling. Sam going, no, you used to just ditch me here. So they're kind of seeing things from each other's perspective. Sam really identifies with these kids, and Dean does too. And so Dean's talking to the boy whose mother is, you know, we get the idea she's a single mom. She's got to keep this job. She's trying to be a manager. And, you know, the little boy's upset because he doesn't like being stuck there. And Dean tells him to give her a break because she's trying the best she can. And so we're getting, again, views into the other side of Dean and some of his insights into this. But then the episode goes, you know, and there's the stoner guy in the mascot uniform who says, please don't get me fired. This is the best job I've ever had, which really makes you wonder. But then it takes this really dark turn, and the kind of creepy guy who's overly friendly is actually raising, you know, evil spirits in the sub-basement because in a twisted way of trying to protect the kids by, oh yeah, having monsters kill their parents. And of course he has his own backstory and trauma, and that's what saves the day. But we also just get this beautiful moment where Dean, who never really got to be a child, sees this kid go by with this rainbow slinky and wants the rainbow slinky. Dean Winchester wants the rainbow slinky, and he tries to buy it and he can't buy it because it's only for tickets. I have been there. I have tried that. I know that slinky. And in the end, after it's all taken care of and Sam's covered with glitter, Sam probably stole one of the rainbow slinkies to give it to Dean. And you can just see that Sam knew his big brother, and Dean's really touched. And then, of course, Dean has to, you know, be the big brother by giving Sam a clown doll, which gets pulled apart and left in the parking lot. But in an episode where you wouldn't think you'd get character insights or development, you do. And it turned out to be a fairly creepy monster of the week as well. So I gets my vote. All right, folks, we are on our last round, so make it good. Lynn?
Can I interject one thing real quick about?
Yeah.
You know from the get-go that something's going to be off with that episode because we see the beautiful unicorn. He's gorgeous. And we're like, oh, dreams come true. And then he gores the dad. And then he runs off with the rainbows out of his butt. And there's like, in that 30 seconds, we know that things are not going to work out the way you think in that. Please, Lynn, go ahead. Thanks for
This is true.
That's just such that combination and juxtaposition of things is just nobody but Supernatural could pull that off. And we're all like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Okay, for my last one, I'm going to pick one that is one of my favorites of the entire series because it's one of the ones that made me really fall in love with the show. I didn't really fall in love the first season. I watched it with a friend because she really loved it and I wanted to be able to talk to her about it. And I did start slowly getting into it, but I didn't fall in love until season 2. And one of the couple of episodes that really made me fall hard for it was Born Under a Bad Sign, which is, I think, just one of the most tour de force episodes of the entire series for Jared Padalecki. But what I also love about it is it really shows you the lengths and the depth of the loyalty that Dean feels for Sam. I think for the first time that clearly. I mean, the whole first part of it is all about how far can Sam, who of course is really Meg, but we don't know that for a really long time. So it's done in almost a Sixth Sense brilliant way of you get halfway through the episode before you, the viewer, even understands what's happening, and because it was so well done. And then you have to go back and recategorize everything. Oh, that wasn't Sam, that was Meg. Oh, but she's really trying to push Dean, seeing how many terrible things she can make Sam do to see if Dean will turn on him. And the bottom line is he won't. It's Dean's worst nightmare that Sam is going to go dark side somehow. And then what his father's, his father's words are always hanging over him, then you're going to have to kill him. That is so in his mind that he is willing to overlook just about anything. Nope, Sam wouldn't do that. Nope, Sam wouldn't do that. I know Sam's not a monster. And it's both, I mean, it's meant to be kind of chilling, but it's also really compelling because you're starting to realize that the relationship that these two have is really unique and really unusual. And there's something very compelling about that. There's a point where Sam, Meg, gives Dean the gun and says, shoot me. You have to do this. You promised me that you would if you had to. And Dean says, I can't. I'd rather die. And Meg has got disdain for him at that point because there's nothing that she can push him to do that will make him turn on his brother. But I love that. And then the scene with Jared and Alona Tal as Joe, when again, it's Meg as Sam, but wow, the two of them in that scene, that is the most amazing scene. It's sadistic and it's menacing and it's flirtatious and it's got an undercurrent of sexual tension, and they both just carry off that really complicated dynamic in such a compelling way. And then later when Meg Sam is torturing Dean, it's that same kind of just filled with tension, and it's very intimate, and they're just, crushed together. But Meg Sam is torturing Dean, like squeezing him right where he shot him. And that also was amazing. And then just as a bonus, we get badass Bobby figuring it out and burning the binding off of, so that the demon comes out, and then it's just Sam, and Dean is so pissed off at that point that he just punches him in the face. So that was a great ending. I love that episode.
Okay. Elektra.
You got me mesmerized. The kids are all right from the beginning of season 3. This is the episode where Dean is on his farewell tour. They're still working cases, but he wants to go to a few cool places and do some fun stuff too, because he's on his last year and he knows he's going to go to hell. Sam has not given up on, well, can't we find somebody to break the deal? And the deal is, if you try to break the deal, then Sam's going to die. And Dean is, we're not doing that. So they go to Cicero, Indiana, because he wants to see Lisa. And this is the first time he meets Ben, and Ben's kind of cool, and Lisa's happy to see him. And turns out there's a case in town. There's a bunch of incredibly creepy kids who all turn out to have been changed out by a monster in town. One of the moms is not what she seems, and she's pulled a bunch of the kids out and changed them out for little monster kids. And she's sort of got them locked in little cages in an unfinished house. And it creeps out all of the moms, and it creeps out Lisa, and some of them even try to kill their own kids. It is a super, super creepy episode that these kids are so bad that it could get moms to try and kill their own kids. And the ones that do try, the kids don't end up dead. They're just, hi, Mom. And it is so, so creepy. But we also get all of the, Jensen trying to teach Ben how to deal with bullies, and Lisa totally freaking out, and Jensen and Lisa having some fun. And we get more of that relationship later in Supernatural, but you can see how easy they are together. And her saying, well, anytime you want to come hang out, you're always welcome. Because apparently a gorgeous woman like that just never quite found somebody, which was a little weird, but we'll go with it. There's a candle there apparently that she is holding for Dean in the window. It's a nice episode, and it leaves us that hole so that when Dean comes back to her later, we understand why. And
Mhm.
I've always enjoyed that one. Although the creepy kids give me nightmares. They are so creepy.
Okay, Melissa.
Since we've talked about everything that was on my list for tonight, I'm going to jump back to one I've talked about before, but not in this particular series, Southern Comfort, because Garth stands up to Dean. And it's important within the episode, but it's also important within the context of the show, because, when Garth becomes a werewolf, Garth often gets taken as this bumbling, fumbling, rather inept, kind of clueless, not as smart guy. How does he have the strength to exist as a werewolf and live on not killing people? Well, he's got the strength to stand up to Dean Winchester and tell him off about how he's acting like he is the only person who's raping Bobby. Garth really has a lot of balls, and we often forget that. And I love that episode. I love this episode for that, because that scene is just, it peels back. Here's a different layer of Garth that we never would have thought existed. It often is forgotten that exists. But there are lots of little moments throughout the series where Garth's bravery and that steel, that he could stand up to Dean, he can do just about anything. I just love that episode for that.
Well, and he also stands up to Dean in that final, confrontation and saves Sam's life and just puts Dean in his place. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. Carol?
So we've had more than a few episodes tonight where we've talked about seeing the brothers and the dynamic between them and how much they will do for each other. So I'm going to pick as my last episode, Sacrifice, where Sam's been going through the trials. Dean has been angry all along because Dean was planning to do the trials and not have Sam do it. There's been a schism between them since the beginning of the season with Amelia and Benny and all of this stuff. And they've trotted out all these old angers and fights between them. And it's been a very difficult time for them. But then here they are. In fact, Dean leaves Sam at the church with Crowley, reminding him of things, and this always really angered me, reminds him of things that weren't even his fault. For once and for all, Sam did not start the apocalypse.
Or intend to lose his soul. And so Dean kind of throws these things casually back up into the air, and you can see the darts hit Sam. So here he is undergoing this grueling physical trial of drawing out his blood and shooting Crowley up with it. And just it's waiting, it's boring, but it's very tense. And here he is, he's like strung out. I mean, the first time I watched this, I almost did not recognize Jared. And it wasn't just they did this great makeup job on him. He was so tortured and strung out and really at the edge of, of despair, over the edge of despair. And Dean has rushed back because he's found out that this is going to kill him. So we have Dean rushing back because Sammy's not going to die on his watch. But beyond that, we see him telling Sam how important Sam is, how much Sam means to him. And he doesn't do it in a heartsy romance Hallmark way. It's in Dean speak. So it's blunt and it's rough, but man, does he get it across. And Sam is able to look at him and finally give in and say, how do I make it stop? And the fact that after this contentious year they've had, here they are, literally bound together as Dean takes his bandana and wraps Sam's injured hand with it. And they exit, they flee the church as everything's falling apart and
huddle down by the Impala to see the angels falling. And they're so unified at that moment. They've reached their separate apexes of, things just really suck and stepped back and were able to turn to each other again and find each other and find the strength to survive. Like, don't even worry about anything else. We've just got to survive this. We'll figure the rest out tomorrow. We always do. And that to me is just a complete little encapsulation of everything Brothers Winchester.
And that one word that broke the fandom when Dean tells Sam that finishing the trial will kill him, and Sam's response is, so?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going to end us with Houses of the Holy. Now, this was an episode early on where they think that there might be an angel, but Dean doesn't believe in angels because, come on, there aren't angels.
We
And
know by now.
right. And Sam thinks it might be an angel, and we find out some of the difference that Sam has always prayed, but Dean doesn't think anybody is listening. And so Sam kind of hopes it's an angel, little do they know. And of course, it turns out to be the vengeful spirit of a dead priest who is taking matters into his own hands. And so Sam is disappointed that this isn't an angel. And Dean, who at first kind of teased Sam about his faith, tries to encourage Sam, well, don't give up just because this was a fraud. Who knows? Dean steps into this encouraging role and a faith he doesn't have to try to shore up something that is important to Sam. So a really wonderful brotherly moment there. And, I think it's interesting. There's con video footage where I think Jensen says that he and Jared sat down with, I don't know whether it was Kripke or the writers, and they were a little uncomfortable with this. And where is this show going with this? And we're not really sure we want to be mouthpieces for all this. And then fast forward to let's kill God. God's a douche. And I'm thinking, what was the artistic and personal growth between Houses of the Holy and Let's Shoot Chuck? Because something clearly happened there. Well, folks, we are at the end of our time. And so I'm going to give everybody a lightning round to say very quickly where we can find you online. And then I'm going to have to wrap up so I can get to our next panel. Lynn?
You can find me anywhere on any social media at Fangasm SPN, and my website is fangasmthebook.com.
Thank you. Elektra?
Find me at untilmidnight.com and find me on Mastodon at Elektra at wandering.shop.
Awesome. Melissa?
Skip me, Kitty.
You can find Melissa on continual panels and in the TFWNC group or on Twitter as Tin Hat Daydreams. Mind the profile.
Mind the tags.
You can
Carole?
find me as Carole M. Stokes on Facebook. You can just search me under my Fire Sign 10 persona. You can just pretty much Google Fire Sign 10 and you'll find me on different medias and my AO3, mind the tags. And as Ellis Colton, you can go to my Ellis Colton Facebook page and it has all my social media links under that name.
Very good. And I'm pretty easy to find at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com. All my social medias are one or both of those names. And if you spell them right, you'll find them. I run the Supernatural TFWNC group on Facebook. I'm a columnist for the Winchester Family Business, but most of the time you can find me here on Continual. So thank you so much for being awesome, awesome panelists. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more Supernatural coming up soon, so we'll see you online.